All right. So Alexander Laurence, The Portable Infinite, and we're celebrating Neeli Cherkovski. We were in an issue of Talisman together at Edward. What was his name? Ed Foster. I mean, this is kind of like the average kind of magazine that came out. Like I was in a bunch of issues. Like in the early '90s, I was in a bunch of magazines with Neely, and he also published. Was an editor of Cups, and he published like he would publish his. He had an article about de Kooning. That's probably one of his best things he wrote for Cups was the de Kooning appraisal. But he did a lot of stuff for Cups too, and he did Cafe Poetry Arts Month, and he was an L.A. San Francisco guy like myself, and so like he has a poem called Historical Notes, and he signed it on the page here, Neeli Cherkovski. So this book is signed by Neely. Historical Notes 1. Even here I recognize a shell, half broken, a shell at my foot. As the dying world collapses near to my arms, I recognize the armor of other men, my own. Not so obvious, at least. I am walking forward, observing birds in flight, feeling for a moment serene, even as I know there's hell to pay back home. But that's good, as it should be. Cold avenues and stark Golden Gate, where people skate or run. I go to the Arboretum and be lost among the tree shrubs, cactus, all the more reason to also race along into the mind's darker recesses. There must be pathways inside I've never known before. Surely gates and paddocks and cities and secret games and plenty of mind fucking for which I take full credit. Homer and Virgil must have had it better. Myself, better than myself. I think the link is memory provided by shale rock and oil and what you read in books. The link is not an accident, but you might accidentally stumble on pieces of it. The Greeks could fall into your lap. Homer at the shore, longships embarking on a dread journey from which few return. God's wreaking havoc in the mind. In the mind, I can Greecize time. Wow, this is a long poem. But this time is mine, pure American at the end of the century. Homer is distant. Some individuals don't care about the journey or the inner mind, or for that matter, the outer mind. Homer is simply unknowable unless you read it and hear unless you hear him. If you hear Homer, then you must set one foot in front of the other. Be aware the sidewalk leads everywhere. So then he kind of, there's another part. He talks about the Crows and the Serbs and kind of section. Yeah, this is kind of a weird poem, Historical Notes. Huh. So, yeah, I mean, he uses ampersand a lot, and his line, well, I had trouble reading it because there's like some weird line breaks. And I haven't read this poem in many years. And, yeah, it's kind of weird. He has some references to San Francisco, and then he talks about the Greeks, and it feels in Homer, a lot of Homer. And I'm guessing that he kind of came back to these, kind of street stuff and the classics, and he's talking. He's kind of have a conversation within his mind, and stuff. I'm gonna look back, rereading a lot of, Jack Hirschman's also in here. Poems. I'm gonna read some of his poems so I can see what I think. But Neeli Cherkovski, 1945. 2024. He died on March 19th. He, as far as I know, he had a heart attack, fell down, and he was injured, and they didn't know he had a heart attack. They just thought he might have fallen and took him to the hospital, and they found out he had a heart attack there, and he was. I suppose he was in a coma for a few days, and they. That was like the Thursday, the 14th he fell, so he was on life support for a couple days, according to George Scrivani. So I don't know, I wasn't there, but yeah, Neely, I've known him for at least 30 years, possibly more. And yeah, it's great to be. I was in a lot of different publications with Neely, with like Cops and Talisman and a few others, like Adobe Anthology. A lot of ones that, and you know, it's a big loss. And you know, this is my tribute to Neeli Cherkovski. Thank you.